The ruby bracelet struck the tiled floor. "Thief!" Zara screamed as guests raised their phones. "My sister married a roadside beggar, and now he has entered our mother's house to steal." Ruth kicked Dare's dusty tool bag across the courtyard. Spanners, survey notes, and a worn helmet scattered beneath polished shoes. Laughter exploded. Ease dropped to her knees, gathering her husband's things. "You planted that bracelet," she cried. Zara slapped the papers from Ease's grip. "Keep quiet. A woman who sleeps beside poverty should not speak inside a rich family." The courtyard froze. Dare picked up one survey document. His faded olive shirt carried red dust, but his voice remained calm. "Before you call me a beggar," he said, "ask who owns the company financing the sale of this house." They laughed again. Then engines thundered outside. One black SUV appeared. Then another. Then 7 more, sealing both ends of the street. Stay with this story, because Dare's truth will tear this family open. Comment your city and local time below. And subscribe now, because when those doors open, every laughing mouth in that compound will go silent. 12 days earlier, there had been no convoy. There had only been the steady chatter of 19 sewing machines inside a narrow workshop near Challenge, Ibadan, and Issei Adebayo, moving between them with a measuring tape around her neck. The workshop was not beautiful. Its zinc roof complained whenever the afternoon sun became too hot. 2 standing fans turned with the tired determination of old women grinding pepper. The painted sign outside had faded until the words "Grace Skills Room" could only be read clearly from 10 meters away. But people came. Women who had lost office jobs came. Widows came. Young mothers who needed income without leaving their homes for 12 hours came. Some paid the full training fee. Some paid half. 2 paid nothing because Ease had seen the fear in their faces when she mentioned money. That Thursday, at exactly 3:17 in the afternoon, Ease stood behind one of the learners and guided her hands over a line of orange cotton. "Do not fight the machine," she said. "Let your shoulders relax. The cloth will follow you." The woman nodded and tried again. The line came out straight. Ease smiled. Better. Her phone rang on the cutting table. The name on the screen made her smile wider. Mama. She stepped outside where a roadside seller was calling out the price of roasted corn. "Good afternoon, Mama." "My daughter, hope no problem?" Grace Adebayo asked. Ease laughed softly. "You are the one calling me, Mama. I should ask you that. Nothing is wrong." Must something be wrong before a mother hears her child's voice? "No, Ma." Grace cleared her throat. Ease knew that sound. Her mother used it whenever she wanted to make a request without sounding like she was making one. "My birthday is next Saturday." "I know. I have not forgotten. Your sisters are coming. Zara says she will organize small food. Ruth says she is bringing some people who know about houses. I want all my children under one roof. You and your husband too." Ease leaned against the warm wall. It had been 8 months since she married Daro Koro at the registry in Ibadan. Grace had met him twice, but never with the full family present. Zara had claimed she was in Dubai for an event. Ruth had sent a voice note from Lagos saying traffic had trapped her on 3rd Mainland Bridge, as if the registry in Ibadan was somehow responsible. "Dare will come," he said. "We will both come. Tell him I am cooking his favorite soup. You have only met him twice. How do you know his favorite soup?" a mother observes. Grace paused, then her voice became lower. "Ease. Yes, Mama? When you come, bring that small box your husband once mentioned, the one that fire cannot enter." "The document safe?" "Yes, that one. Ruth says some people will repair the roof. She brought papers for me to sign. Let us arrange everything properly." Ease straightened. "What papers?" "Nothing serious. Approval for roofing. You know these contractors. They like too much paper. Did you read them?" Grace gave the tired chuckle of a woman who had spent years pretending her reading was stronger than it was. My daughter. The writing was plenty. Ruth explained it. Ease looked through the workshop window. One machine had stopped. The learner was waiting for her. Mama, do not sign anything else until I come. Why are you talking as if your sister is a stranger? I did not say she is a stranger. I said wait. Grace sighed. Come early, that is all. The call ended. Ease remained outside for a moment, watching a Danfo bus drag black smoke into the air. Something in her mother's voice had tightened her chest. She went back inside, finished the lesson, checked the week's accounts and locked the workshop at 6:42 p.m. By then, the sky had become purple over Ibadan, and the traffic along Ring Road had thickened into one long, angry horn. Dare arrived 23 minutes later in an old white pickup, with a dent above the left rear tire. He climbed down wearing a pale blue shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. Red soil marked the knees of his trousers. There was dust in his low-cut hair and a thin scratch across one wrist. Ease folded her arms. You said you would be here by 6. I said I would try. You always say you will try, and sometimes I succeed. She squeezed her face at him. Dare opened the passenger door with an exaggerated bow. Madam, your carriage. This carriage is shaking like it has malaria. It has character. It has a damaged shock absorber. That too. She got in. The cab smelled of engine oil, mint sweets, and the strong black coffee Dare drank when he traveled between sites. A rolled construction drawing rested behind the seats. On the dashboard lay a helmet with the faded logo of a subcontractor. Ease picked up his scratched wrist. What happened? A block slipped at one drainage inspection, and you used your hand to greet it. One worker was standing below. You are not made of iron, Dare. I know. You behave as if you do not know. He started the engine. The pickup coughed twice before agreeing to move. On the way home, Ease told him about Grace's call. Dare listened without interrupting. That was one of the first things she had noticed about him. He did not listen while arranging his next answer. He listened as if the other person's words were materials on a table, each one needing to be examined before anything could be built. What kind of papers? He asked when she finished. Mama says roof repairs. And Ruth explained them. Yes. Did your mother keep copies? I do not know. Dare tapped the steering wheel once. Let us see them on Saturday. You think something is wrong? I think people should understand whatever they sign. Especially when property is involved. Ease looked at him. You sound like a lawyer. I sound like a man who has seen families lose houses because somebody said, just sign here, it is nothing. He did not say more. Dare rarely spoke fully about his work. Ease knew he was an engineer. She knew he held shares in an infrastructure company, and sometimes advised lenders on construction projects. She knew he traveled often, refused photographs at public events, and could spend 2 hours discussing drainage gradients with the excitement other men reserved for football. She also knew he had money. Not mansion money, she believed. Not private jet money. But enough to pay 6 months' rent ahead when their landlord increased the price. Enough to replace every machine in her workshop without asking for a loan. Enough that he once settled a hospital bill of 1,211,000 naira for a site worker, then looked embarrassed when Ease found out. But he drove an old pickup. He bought shirts without designer labels. He repaired his shoes until the cobbler said there was more glue than leather. And because Ease had grown up, watching people use money as a loudspeaker, Dare's quietness felt like peace. At home, they ate yam porridge from the same pot, because Ease said washing 2 serving bowls was unnecessary. After dinner, Dare brought out a small fire-resistant document box from the top of their wardrobe. This one? he asked. Ease nodded. He tested the lock, placed 2 spare keys in a brown envelope, and slid the box beside the door. Then he sat at the edge of the bed and removed his work boots. Your sisters, he said. Do they know what I do? They know you are an engineer. That is not what I asked. Ease sat beside him. They know you work with construction companies. Zara thinks you are between jobs because you did not come to her event launch in a suit. Dare raised one eyebrow. And Ruth? Ruth thinks any man without a German car is going through a spiritual problem. Dare laughed. Ease did not. I do not want trouble on Mama's birthday. Neither do I. If Zara says something foolish, please ignore her. I usually ignore foolishness. You usually study it until the foolish person becomes uncomfortable. That is not the same thing. Ease rested her head against his shoulder. Please. Dare took her hand. I will respect your family. She lifted her face. And if they do not respect you? He looked at the old pickup key on the bedside table. Then we will see what exactly they believe respect costs. Across town, Zara Adebayo George was not thinking about respect. She was thinking about 31,740,000 naira. That was the amount displayed on the spreadsheet open on her laptop. It was not the full debt of her event company. It was only the portion due within 13 days. Zara sat in the private office of her rented event showroom, dressed in a ruby blouse and black trousers, while 3 unread messages from a creditor glowed on her phone. The showroom looked successful. Gold chairs stood in rows. Crystal centerpieces filled glass cabinets. Photographs of weddings and corporate dinners covered the walls. A visitor would have seen luxury. A bank officer would have seen financed inventory, overdue lease payments and contracts that had already spent their clients' deposits. Ruth sat opposite her in an electric purple dress, tapping one silver nail against her phone. Kola says the deposit can enter tomorrow if Mama signs the final page, Ruth said. She already signed. She signed the blank authority page. We still need the family acknowledgement. Ruth shrugged. Then her signature will not be necessary. Zara looked up sharply. What does that mean? It means the title is in Mama's name. Ease is not an owner, but Kola wants no family dispute. Kola wants the land. Ruth leaned back. The new commercial road has pushed that area up. He is buying for 147 million. After fees, Mama can take something small. We clear our problems. Everybody breathes. Our problems? Zara asked. You mean my company? Ruth's mouth tightened. I have also spent money arranging the buyer. How much is your commission? That is between me and the buyer. Zara stared at her. The sisters had been allies since childhood, but theirs was the kind of alliance built on competition. Each supported the other as long as the other did not rise too high. Zara closed the laptop. Mama must not change her mind. She will not. And Ease's husband? Ruth laughed. That dusty engineer. Please. A man should first repair his own life before repairing documents. Zara smiled. On Ruth's phone, a new message arrived from Kola Daniels. Get every family member out of the way before Monday. Once demolition starts, nobody can reverse it easily. Ruth read it twice. Then she turned the screen face down. Outside began to strike the showroom roof. Neither sister noticed that the sound was almost the same as knuckles knocking on a door. A warning. The days before Grace's birthday moved with the speed of water running downhill. Ease called her mother every evening. Each time, Grace said she was fine. Each time, she also mentioned one new thing that made Ease uneasy. Ruth had collected the original title documents for safekeeping. Zara had brought a man to measure the back garden. A painter had marked 2 corners of the outer wall with red chalk. When Ease asked why, Grace said they were planning repairs. Did they show you a building plan? Ease asked on Tuesday night. No. Did they give you an estimate? My daughter, must you question everything? When the thing belongs to you, yes. Grace became quiet. Then she said, Your father built this house when none of you could even spell your names. I will not allow anybody to carry it away. That answer should have comforted Ease. It did not. On Wednesday morning, Dare drove to a drainage rehabilitation project near Apata. The contract belonged to a small firm named on the workers' reflective jackets. But the financing came through a chain of companies that ended at Orison Infrastructure Holdings. Only 3 people at the site knew who Dare truly was. The rest called him Engineer Dare and assumed he was a consultant who disliked officers. That suited him. 8 months earlier, an internal audit had shown that several community projects linked to Orison's capital were being used to pressure elderly landowners into cheap sales. The documents were always almost correct. The signatures were always difficult to challenge. The victims were usually people who could not afford years of litigation. Dare could have sent investigators in expensive cars. Instead, he began visiting sites himself. He wore ordinary boots. He used the pickup assigned to a field supervisor. He sat with foremen, food sellers, and families whose houses carried demolition marks. People spoke more freely when they did not think the chairman of a multi-billion naira group was listening. That Wednesday, a concrete block slipped from a wheelbarrow above an unfinished drain. A laborer stood below. Dare reached him first. The block struck Dare's wrist and tore his sleeve before falling into the wet channel. The laborer escaped with only a bruised shoulder, but the incident delayed everyone by nearly 2 hours. At 5:11 p.m., as Dare washed red mud from his hands, his phone rang. Yusuf Bello's name appeared. Dare stepped away from the workers. Talk to me. We have another cluster, Yusuf said. 3 land purchases around Oluyole. Different sellers, same survey consultant, same notary stamp. Dare looked toward the road. Which developer? Daniels Urban Projects. He stopped moving. Spell the surname, Daniels. The managing director is Kola Daniels. Dare took the photograph Ease had sent him that morning from Grace's dining table. It showed a folder Ruth had left open. The top page carried the letterhead Daniels Urban Projects. Send me every file you have, Dare said. You know something? My mother-in-law may be their next seller. Yusuf was silent for one beat. Then his voice became sharp. Has anything been signed? Possibly. Dare, do not touch the original documents without witnesses. Photograph everything. We need chain of custody if this becomes criminal. I know. And do not reveal yourself too early. Dare almost smiled. You are the lawyer telling me to stay quiet? I am the lawyer telling you not to frighten the rat before we know where it keeps the grain. The call ended. Dare looked again at the photograph. At the bottom of the visible page was a survey reference beginning with OY4419. He knew that code. It belonged to a parcel near Akobo, not Grace's street. He called Ease. She answered over the noise of sewing machines. Hope no problem? Do not ask your mother to confront anyone yet. Ease stepped outside immediately. What did you find? I am not certain enough to accuse anybody, but the company on that folder has appeared in an internal review. Your company's review? Yes. Which company? Dare? There was a pause. Ease heard traffic behind him and the metallic clanging of tools. Orison, he said. She knew the name. Everybody in construction knew it. Orison financed roads, warehouses, housing estates, and industrial parks. Its name appeared on billboards in Lagos and Abuja, though Ease had never seen Dare beside one. You consult for them? She asked. I do more than consult. How much more? Enough to get answers. Let us focus on your mother first. Ease did not like incomplete answers. But she understood urgency. What should I do? Tell Mama to touch nothing. We will inspect the papers on Saturday. I will send Yusuf the photograph. Who is Yusuf? Our legal advisor. Our? Ease. She pressed her lips together. Fine. We will talk after Mama is safe. Thank you. Do not thank me. Prepare your full explanation. I will. The call ended on Friday afternoon. Zara arrived at Grace's house with decorators, rented chairs, and enough artificial flowers to cover a wedding hall. Grace stood in the courtyard, wearing a simple cream dress and a pale yellow head tie. My daughter, why all this? She asked. Mama, you are 64 only once. I was 63 only once, too. Nobody blocked the road. Zara laughed as if Grace had made a joke. Two men began hanging ruby and gold fabric across the front veranda. Ruth came 30 minutes later with Cola. Cola Daniels wore a dark emerald suit, despite the heat. His gold tie-pin shone whenever he turned his head. He carried himself like a man who believed every room had been waiting for him. Mama Grace, he said, bending slightly. You are looking younger than your daughters. Grace smiled politely. Thank you. I only came to confirm some small arrangements. Once the family signs tomorrow, my team can begin preliminary work. Grace frowned. What work? Ruth answered quickly. The roof assessment, Mama. Cola looked at her. For less than a second, confusion crossed his face, then it vanished. Yes. Assessment. Grace watched them. The red marks on the wall suddenly seemed darker. Where are my papers? She asked. Safe with me, Ruth said. I want them back tonight. Mama, why are you squeezing your face? We are helping you. I did not say I need help selling my house. Nobody spoke. The decorators continued working, but more slowly now. Cola adjusted his cuff. There may be some misunderstanding. Then explain it. Zara stepped between them. Mama, please. Guests will soon hear you shouting. We will discuss everything after your birthday. Why after? Because tomorrow is for celebration. Grace looked from Zara to Ruth. For the first time, she saw not daughters trying to improve her life, but two women hiding something behind smiles. Ease is coming, she said. Ruth's face hardened. Ease knows nothing about property. Her husband is an engineer. Zara gave a loud laugh. That man? Mama, an engineer who enters public transport with workers is not the kind of engineer that can advise this family. Grace's eyes narrowed. You have met him only once. I saw enough. No, Grace said. You saw his clothes. The words landed heavily. Cola checked his phone. I will return tomorrow at 11, he said. Let us not allow a small family concern to delay a profitable arrangement. He walked toward his car. Before entering, he sent Ruth a message. Control your mother. I will not release the balance if there is noise. Ruth read it and swallowed. That night, Grace slept badly. At 2:08 a.m., she got out of bed and opened the old wardrobe where she kept family documents. The blue title folder was gone. So was the original survey plan her husband had paid for in 1998. She sat on the edge of the bed for a long time. Then she whispered into the darkness. What have my children done? Saturday morning arrived bright and hot. Ease woke before 5. She ironed a burnt orange dress with light blue stitching around the sleeves. It was simple, fitted, and made by her own hands. She packed Grace's gift, the document safe, 2 changes of clothes, and a small blood pressure monitor Dare had bought. Dare came from the bathroom wearing a clean white shirt and dark trousers. His phone rang before he could button the cuffs. He listened for less than 30 seconds. Then he removed the shirt. What happened? Ease asked. A drainage wall collapsed near a pata. One worker may be trapped. Mama's party starts by noon. I know. Will you still come? Dare pulled on a faded olive work shirt. I will come straight from the site. Ease stared at the red dust already caught in the seams. Zara will use this shirt to preach for 3 hours. Then let her preach. You promised no trouble. I am not bringing trouble. I am bringing myself. He kissed her forehead. Go ahead with the box. I will meet you there. At 7:26 Ease left in a hired car. At 7:41, Dare's pickup entered the Apata site. At 8:03, Zara instructed the event manager to remove one chair from the family table. Whose chair? The manager asked. My younger sister's husband. Is he not coming? He is coming. The manager blinked. Then where will he sit? Zara pointed toward the shaded area behind the outdoor kitchen. With the workers. Let everybody sit according to their level. Ruth, standing nearby in her electric purple dress, smiled. Neither sister knew that by the end of that day, the question of level would become the most painful question in the compound. By 10 o'clock, Grace's street no longer looked like a quiet residential road. A canopy stretched from the courtyard into the front compound. Gold chairs stood beneath it in neat rows. A banner with Grace's photograph hung above the veranda, though the photograph had been edited until her skin looked 20 years younger and her eyes almost silver. Neighbors arrived in lace and ankara. Church women came carrying wrapped bowls. 2 of Zara's clients came because she had invited them, not because they knew Grace. They spoke loudly about property prices, schools in Canada, and the inconvenience of domestic flights. Ease entered through the side gate, carrying the grey document safe. Grace saw her and opened both arms. My daughter. Ease hugged her carefully. You look tired, Mama. I am fine. You always say that when you are not fine. Grace looked at the box. You brought it. Yes. Where are the papers? Grace's smile disappeared. Ruth has them. Ease turned. Ruth stood near the drinks table, adjusting her silver handbag. Zara was beside her, giving instructions to the caterer. Ease walked over. Good morning, my sisters. Zara looked at the orange dress from neck to hem. At least you dressed well today. Good morning to you, too. Ruth kissed the air beside Ease's cheek. Where is your husband? At a work site. He is coming. Zara picked up a glass of juice. Of course. Poor people are always busy and still remain poor. It is one of life's mysteries. Ease met her eyes. Dare is not poor. Then poverty is wearing his face without permission. Ruth laughed. Ease did not. Where are Mama's documents? The laughter stopped. Ruth touched her bag. Safe. Mama wants them. She will get them after today. No, she will get them now. Zara placed her glass down slowly. Do not come into this house and start giving orders. This is Mama's house. And we are her daughters too. Then behave like daughters. Give her back what belongs to her. For a moment, the sisters stood in a hard triangle beneath the canopy. Music played from the speakers, but the tension between them was louder. Grace approached. Please. Not today. Ease turned to her. Mama, did you sign anything about selling this house? Grace looked toward the guests. I signed what Ruth said was for roofing. Ruth folded her arms. And what is wrong with that? Let us see it. There is nothing to see. Ease's voice lowered. Ruth. Zara stepped forward. You have been married for 8 months, and suddenly you are a property expert. Because your husband carries measuring tape around construction sites. Dare knows how to read survey documents. Dare should first survey his bank account. Grace raised one hand. Enough. Her voice was not loud, but it carried. Several guests turned. Grace looked at Ruth. Bring the papers before 11. Ruth's lips parted. Before 11. Then Grace walked away. Ease watched her mother press 2 fingers against the side of her neck. She reached for the blood pressure monitor in her bag. Zara blocked her. Do not start making Mama look sick in front of guests. She has hypertension. She is celebrating. Let her celebrate. Ease moved around her. Health does not wait because you hired a canopy. Grace's blood pressure was 174 over 106. Ease stared at the screen. Mama, you need to rest. I will rest after the prayer. You need your medication now. Grace nodded reluctantly. Ease took her inside. From the dining room window, Ruth watched them go. Her fingers tightened around the silver handbag. Inside it were photocopies of the sale agreement, the original title folder, and the ruby bracelet Zara had asked her to bring. The bracelet was not part of the plan, not yet. At 10:47 a.m., Cola Daniels arrived in a black sedan, with 2 assistants and a leather folder under his arm. Zara welcomed him as if a governor had entered. "Mr. Daniels, you came early. Time is money." He glanced around the compound. "Where is the old woman?" Zara's smile stiffened. "My mother is resting. And the other family members? Ease is here. Her husband is coming." Cola frowned. "The engineer?" "Engineer in quotation marks," Ruth said. Cola did not laugh. "What does he know?" "Nothing," Zara said. Ruth looked away. Cola opened his folder and placed several pages on the dining table. "The acknowledgement must be signed today. I have already paid 17,500,000 naira. If this fails, I will recover it with interest." Zara's face changed. "How much interest?" "Enough to make you sell more than chairs." His voice was still polite. That made the threat worse. At the Apata site, Dare stood waist-deep in muddy water beside the collapsed drainage wall. The trapped worker had been freed. His left leg was injured, but he was alive. Dare used his pickup to take him to a clinic because the site ambulance had not arrived. By the time the doctor accepted the worker, Dare's trousers were soaked to the knee and his shirt carried a broad red stain of dried soil. He called Ease. "I am on my way. How far?" "Maybe 40 minutes. Zara has invited a developer." Cola Daniels. Dare stopped beside the pickup. "He is there? Yes, with documents. Do not sign anything. I will not. Do not allow Mama to sign either. She is resting." Dare looked at the time. "I am leaving now." The pickup refused to start. He tried again. Nothing. He opened the bonnet, checked the battery connection, and found a cracked terminal clamp. For 10 minutes he worked with a small spanner. The engine turned once, then died. Dare closed his eyes. He could have called a driver from Lagos. He could have asked security to come. He could have arranged a helicopter if the situation became extreme enough. But every unnecessary display would expose him before he understood the documents. He called a ride service instead. No driver accepted. Finally, a taxi stopped on the main road. The driver agreed to take him after seeing cash. Dare removed his tool bag from the pickup, placed the helmet inside, and entered the taxi. At Grace's house, the birthday prayer began without him. After the prayer, Zara directed guests toward the food tables. Jollof rice, fried rice, yam porridge, chicken, and moin moin filled the air with spice and smoke. Ease helped Grace sit beneath the canopy. Then Zara approached with the event manager. "Ease, your husband's chair is behind the kitchen." Ease looked at the family table. There were 7 places. 1 was empty. "Why?" "The table is full." "There is an empty chair. That is for Mr. Daniels. Dare is family." Zara smiled. Marriage brought him near the family. It did not automatically raise his level. Ease stared at her sister. "You removed his chair before he arrived." "Yes. Put it back." Ruth came closer. "Do not embarrass yourself. He will be comfortable with the workers. They can discuss cement." Ease pulled out her own chair. "Then I will sit with him." Zara grabbed the backrest. "Do not behave like a village wife who must follow her husband into every gutter." Ease's face became still. "Release the chair." For the first time, Zara saw something in her younger sister that was not softness. She let go. At 12:19 p.m., the taxi stopped outside. Dare stepped down in his faded olive shirt, dusty trousers, and old brown work boots. He carried the canvas tool bag in one hand. Sweat marked his collar. Two guests near the gate looked him up and down. One whispered something. The other laughed. Dare heard them. He kept walking. Ease crossed the courtyard to meet him. "You came. I said I would." She looked at his clothes. "You look as if the road fought you. The road lost." He kissed her forehead. Grace rose when she saw him. "My son." Dare bent respectfully. "Happy birthday, Ma." He gave her a small wrapped package. Grace opened it and found a framed photograph of the house taken before her husband died. The paint was fresh in the picture. 3 little girls stood on the veranda. Grace touched the glass with trembling fingers. "Where did you get this?" Ease found the negative in an old envelope. "We restored it." Grace looked at him for a long moment. "Thank you." Behind them, Zara made a sound of impatience. "Very touching. Is that all?" Dare turned. Zara stood in ruby-red lace with gold earrings almost touching her shoulders. Ruth's electric purple dress shone beside her. Kola watched from the family table. Dare greeted them. "Good afternoon." Zara looked at his boots. "Did you come straight from digging somebody's gutter?" Yes, the direct answer disturbed her more than shame would have. Ruth covered her nose with 2 fingers. "You could at least have changed. This is a birthday, not a laborers' union meeting." A drainage wall collapsed. A worker was injured. "And that concern belongs to his family," Zara said. "You should know when to leave poor people's emergencies for poor people." Dare's eyes changed slightly. Ease saw it. He placed the tool bag beside a wall. "Where should I sit?" he asked. Zara pointed behind the kitchen. "With the workers." Dare looked at the family table, then at Ease. Ease picked up her plate. "I am sitting with my husband." Grace stood too. "And I am sitting with my daughter." The courtyard went quiet. Zara forced a laugh. "Mama, please, guests are watching." "Let them watch." Grace walked toward the back area. One by one, 3 women from her church followed with their plates. Then the event manager quietly moved 2 clean chairs there. What Zara had planned as humiliation became a second family table. Her jaw tightened. Kola leaned close to her. "Control this," she whispered back. "I will." Dare ate only a little. His attention moved around the compound. Red chalk marks on the wall. A folded site plan beside Kola's leather folder. A photocopied consent form beneath a bottle of water. After the meal, Kola stood and tapped a spoon against his glass. "My good people, today is not only a celebration of Mama Grace. It is also the beginning of a new chapter for this family." Ease looked at Dare. Grace frowned. Kola continued. "This old property will soon become a modern residential development. 6 luxury units. Better security. Better value. Better future." A printed image was carried forward. It showed a tall block of apartments where Grace's house stood. Grace rose so quickly, her chair scraped the floor. "What are you saying?" Kola's smile weakened. "The sale, Ma." "What sale?" Ruth hurried to her. "Mama, calm down. You told me roof repairs." "Mama, you told me to sign for roofing." Every phone in the courtyard seemed to turn toward them. Zara forced a smile at the guests. "There is a misunderstanding." Dare stood. "May I see the documents?" Kola looked at his dusty shirt. "Who are you?" "Dare Okoro, her son-in-law, and your legal role." "None." "I am asking because the owner appears not to understand the transaction." Kola closed the folder. "Then the answer is no." Dare did not move. "Who independently explained the documents to Mama Grace?" Ruth crossed her arms. "I did. You are receiving money from the transaction. That is none of your business. It becomes relevant if you advised the seller." Zara stepped between them. "Do not bring your roadside knowledge into a transaction you cannot understand." Dare glanced at the visible site plan. He saw the reference number, OY4419AC. His heartbeat slowed. That code belonged to another parcel. He reached for the edge of the paper. Kola slapped his hand away. "Do not touch my document." The movement caught the attention of every guest. Dare lowered his hand. "This survey reference is not for this land." Kola's eyes flickered. Ruth went pale. Zara laughed loudly. "Listen to him. The man came here looking like somebody we carried from a roadside labor market. And now he wants to teach a developer about land." Some guests laughed with her. Dare looked at Grace. "Ma, did you sign a sale agreement?" "No." "Did you receive 17,500,000 naira?" Grace shook her head. Kola turned sharply toward Zara. "How does he know the deposit?" That question changed the air. Zara saw danger, not the full shape of it, but enough. She moved close to Ruth and whispered, "Bring the bracelet." Ruth stared at her. "What? You heard me. This was not the plan. The plan is failing." Ruth's eyes moved to Dare's canvas bag beside the wall. "No." Zara's voice became cold. "If this sale fails, Kola will collect his money from both of us. Do you have 8 million naira waiting somewhere?" Ruth swallowed. Zara walked back toward the guests. Ruth remained still for 3 seconds. Then she entered the house. The event continued in a broken way. Music returned. Plates moved. People spoke too loudly because they wanted to pretend they had not witnessed anything. Dare asked the event manager whether cameras covered the courtyard. "Yes, sir. 4 cameras." Zara requested full recording for social media. "Do they cover the side passage?" "1 does. Please preserve everything from today. Do not delete or overwrite it." The manager looked uncertain. "Why?" "Because there may be a dispute." Zara heard him. She smiled. "What will you do with camera footage? Sell it to buy another pair of boots?" Dare ignored her. Ruth returned with her handbag lighter than before. She walked behind the canopy, past the tool bag, and bent as if adjusting her shoe. Her hand moved once. The camera above the side passage watched everything. 7 minutes later, Zara screamed, "My bracelet!" Music stopped. She held up her bare wrist. "My ruby bracelet is missing." Ruth gasped too quickly. "You wore it when we arrived." "Yes, it cost 4,300,000 naira." Zara looked around the courtyard. Then her eyes settled on Dare. The accusation arrived before any search. "Who else here has been touching things that do not belong to him?" He stood. "Do not try it." Zara pointed at Dare's bag. "Open that." Dare remained seated. No Kola stepped forward. "If you have nothing to hide, open it." "That is not how innocence works." Zara raised her voice. "Security." 2 event guards approached. Grace moved between them and Dare. "Nobody will touch my son-in-law." Zara stared at her mother. "Mama, you are defending a man you barely know against your own daughter." "I am defending order in my house." Ruth began to cry. Whether from fear or performance, nobody could tell. "Zara, let them check," she said. "Let us settle this." Dare looked at Ruth. Her eyes could not hold his. He knew. He stood and placed both hands where everyone could see them. "You may search the bag," he said, "but the camera files must be preserved, and the search must happen in front of all witnesses." Zara gave a triumphant smile. One guard lifted the bag onto a chair. He removed the helmet, a tape measure, 2 spanners, a notebook, a rolled reflective vest. Then the ruby bracelet slid out and struck the tiled floor. The sound was small, but the damage it caused was not. "Thief!" Zara screamed. Phones rose. Laughter came from somewhere near the drinks table. Ruth kicked the bag. Tools scattered beneath polished shoes. Ease dropped to her knees. "You planted that bracelet." Zara slapped the survey notes from her grip. "Keep quiet. A woman who sleeps beside poverty should not speak inside a rich family." The courtyard froze. Dare bent and picked up 1 page. His face held no panic, no shame, only a quietness that frightened Grace more than anger would have. Before you call me a beggar, he said, ask who owns the company financing the sale of this house. Zara threw back her head and laughed. Now the beggar owns a company. Wonderful. By evening he will own Nigeria. Kola's smile was thinner. What company? He asked. Dare looked at him. Orison Infrastructure Holdings. For 1 second, Kola forgot to breathe. Then Zara spoke over him. Throw both of them out. Grace grabbed Zara's arm. This is my house, and you are confused, Zara snapped. We are protecting you. The words cut Grace more deeply than anybody realized. Eve stood with Dare's notebook pressed to her chest. If we leave, Mama comes with us. Ruth blocked the doorway. Mama is staying. Dare looked at Grace. Ma, do you want to leave? Grace's eyes moved to her daughters, the guests, the red marks on the wall and the bracelet on the floor. Her breathing had become shallow. I want all of you to stop, she whispered. Zara signaled the guards again. Dare collected his things slowly. He did not resist. He did not argue. Before leaving, he turned to the event manager. Preserve the camera footage from 11:30 a.m. until now. Make 2 copies. Do not hand the only copy to anybody in this family. Zara laughed. Who do you think you are to give instructions here? Dare placed the last spanner into the bag. A man you should have allowed to finish 1 sentence. He took Ease's hand. They walked through the gate while guests watched. Behind them, Zara's laughter followed into the street. But Kola did not laugh. He stared at Dare's back. Then he took out his phone and searched the name Dara Okoro. The first result showed no clear photograph. Only a corporate article from 3 years earlier. Orison founder rejects publicity, expands community compliance program. Kola's thumb stopped moving. A cold line traveled down his spine. Outside the compound, Ease walked beside Dare without speaking. The street was bright, too bright. A woman selling bottled water stared at them as they passed. 2 boys repairing a motorcycle stopped their work. From inside the compound came the first low return of music, as if Zara believed sound could cover what had happened. Ease reached the junction before she realized she was still holding Dare's notebook against her chest. She stopped. I am sorry. Dare looked at her. For what? For bringing you there. You brought me to your mother's birthday. They treated you like dirt. That belongs to them, Ease. Not to you. Her eyes filled. I should have seen what they were planning. You saw enough to stand beside me. I am tired of always standing after the damage has happened. Dare took the notebook from her and placed it inside the bag. Then we start before the next damage. Ease looked back toward the house. Mama is still there. I know. We cannot leave her. We are not leaving her. Dare took out his phone. The screen showed 6 missed calls from Yusuf. He called back. Yusuf answered immediately. Tell me you did not confront Kola. I asked questions. That means you confronted him. They planted a bracelet in my bag and accused me of theft. There was silence. Then Yusuf said, very slowly, who touched the bag? Ruth. Likely. The event camera covers the passage. Where is the footage? Still with the event manager. Get it before somebody remembers that cameras can be deleted. Dare looked toward the gate. Send a local evidence officer. Civil clothes. No company convoy. I will arrange it. What documents did you see? Survey reference OY4419AC. It is not the correct parcel. The deposit was 17.5 million. Grace says she believed she signed for roofing. Yusuf exhaled. That is enough for an urgent application, but not enough to settle the entire matter. I need photographs, the transaction account, the signed pages and confirmation from land records. You will have them. Dare. Yes, if Kola knows who you are, he may rush the transfer. He has already planned preliminary demolition for Monday. Then Monday is too late. Dare checked the time. It was 2:46 p.m. Can we obtain an interim restraining order by tomorrow? If the facts check out and we find the duty judge, perhaps. But we need Grace's statement. Ease heard that. She will give it. Yusuf paused. Is that E? Yes. Dare handed her the phone. Madam, I am Yusuf Bello, General Counsel for Orison Infrastructure. Ease looked at Dare. General Counsel. Dare rubbed the back of his neck. Yusuf continued, Your husband and I will explain everything. For now, I need you to write down exactly what your mother told you about the documents. Time, date, words as closely as you remember them. I can do that. Also, do not accuse your sisters by text. Do not post anything online. Preserve evidence first. Anger can wait. Ease looked at the compound. Anger is not planning to go anywhere. Good. Let it sit down. The call ended. Dare raised one hand before Ease could speak. I know. No, you do not know. I know you have questions. You have a general counsel. Yes. You said you owned shares. I do. How many shares? Dare glanced around the junction. A taxi driver was calling for passengers. A roasted corn seller was watching them openly. This is not the best place. How many? A controlling interest. Ease stared at him. In Orison? Yes, the Orison with warehouses in Lekki? Yes. The Orison that built the inland terminal? Yes. The same Orison whose chairman has never shown his face properly in newspapers. Dare said nothing. Ease stepped back. Oh, that one word carried shock, anger, and a sudden rearranging of 8 months of marriage. Dare spoke carefully. I was going to tell you. When I had begun the process. What process? Are you submitting an application to your wife? He accepted the blow without defending himself. Ease pressed her fingers against her forehead. Not now, she said. Mama first. Ease. Mama first. After she is safe, you and I will discuss how a man can own half the roads in Nigeria and still tell his wife he is managing. Despite everything, Dare almost smiled. Then his phone rang again. It was Grace's number. Zara was calling. Ease snatched the phone and answered. What happened? Zara's voice broke through the speaker. Mama has fallen. The world narrowed. When? Just now. She was shouting. Then she held her chest and fell. Call an ambulance. We are trying. Trying is not calling. Dare took the phone. Is she conscious? Who is this? Dare. Is she conscious? Zara hesitated. Yes, but she is not speaking well. Lay her on her side. Do not give her food or water. Do not crowd her. Tell me her breathing rate. How will I know that? Count how many times her chest rises in 30 seconds. He was already calling another number from Easy's phone. Within 90 seconds, an ambulance from a private hospital near Ring Road was dispatched. Dare gave the driver Grace's exact address, the gate color, and the fastest access road. He and Ease took the first taxi they saw. They arrived 6 minutes before the ambulance. Grace was lying on the living room rug. Her cream dress was twisted at the waist. One side of her mouth seemed weak. Ruth knelt near her, crying. Zara stood by the window with both hands shaking. Cola was gone. Dare checked Grace's response. Breathing and pulse without moving her unnecessarily. Mama, can you hear me? Grace's eyelids fluttered. Dare. I am here. My house. We will protect it. Her hand found his wrist. Do not let them sell it. Ease heard every word. So did Zara. The ambulance siren entered the street. At the hospital, Grace was taken through emergency assessment. Her blood pressure had risen above 210 systolic. The doctors suspected a transient neurological episode caused by severe hypertension and stress, but they needed imaging and observation. Ease sat outside the treatment area with dried tears on her cheeks. Ruth occupied the far end of the corridor. Zara stood near a vending machine, still wearing ruby lace, but the confidence had drained from it. Dare spoke quietly with the billing desk. When the clerk saw the code on his phone, her posture changed. Yes, sir. she said. The executive medical account will cover everything. Dare raised one finger. No special room unless the doctors require it, and do not discuss payment details with the family. Yes, sir, Ease watched. When he returned, she said, "How much did they request?" "It is handled." "That is not an answer. Initial deposit was $863,000 and you paid it from an executive account." "Yes." Zara heard them. She looked at Dare, but pride kept her from asking. At 5:36 p.m., a doctor came out and said Grace was stable. The weakness in her face had improved. She would remain overnight for monitoring. Ease's knees almost gave way. Dare held her. Zara stepped forward. "Can we see her?" "One person at a time," the doctor said. "No arguments, no stressful discussion." Ease went first. Grace lay beneath a light blanket. A monitor blinked beside her. Without the head tie and birthday jewelry, she looked smaller. Ease sat down and took her hand. "Mama." Grace opened her eyes. "I did not sell it." "I know. I signed one blank page." "Ruth said it was roofing authority. Do you remember when?" "Last Monday, around 9 in the morning. Zara had sent food." Ruth came with papers. "Did anybody else see?" "The woman next door was at the gate. She brought soup. She may have seen Ruth." Ease leaned closer. "Where are the original title papers?" "Ruth took them 3 months ago. She said she wanted to laminate copies." "Did you allow her to sell the property?" "No." Grace's grip tightened. "Your father laid the first block with his own hands. We slept inside one room before the rest of the roof was complete. I will not allow debt to erase his life." Ease swallowed. "Why did you not tell me earlier?" "You have your workshop, your marriage. I did not want to carry my troubles and put them on your head." "Mama." "Silence is how people carry trouble into your house without knocking." Grace looked toward the door. "Your sisters are in difficulty. That does not give them the right to deceive you. I know." It was the first time Grace said it without defending them. When Ease came out, Dare was waiting with a notebook. She told him everything. He wrote down Grace's words, times, and details. Then he asked Ease to write her own account separately, in her handwriting, without discussing wording with him. Zara watched from the vending machine. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Creating a record," Dare said. "You are turning family misunderstanding into a court case." "No." The forged documents turned it into a legal matter. Ruth stood. "Nobody forged anything." Dare looked at her. "Did you place the bracelet in my bag?" Ruth's face emptied. Zara answered for her. "How dare you accuse her?" "I am asking a question. You were caught with stolen property." The side camera recorded the passage. Ruth sat down again. Dare saw it. So did Ease. Zara folded her arms. "Cameras can misunderstand angles. People say that when the angle understands them perfectly." Zara's eyes flashed. "Do not speak to me as if you are above me because you paid one hospital bill." Dare studied her face. "You still do not know what the issue is." "The issue is that Ease married a man who hides behind big words." Dare nodded once. "Then let us use small words. Stop the sale. Return the deposit. Tell your mother the truth." Zara laughed without humor. "And if we do not?" "You will lose the opportunity to correct this privately," Ruth whispered. "Zara." Zara ignored her. "What will you do? Arrive with your fellow laborers and carry the house on your head?" Dare's voice remained level. "I'm giving you a final chance because Ease asked for fairness, not because you have earned it." Zara stepped close enough that he could smell her perfume. "Listen to me. You are a nobody who entered this family through a woman too soft to know her value. Do not threaten me inside a hospital I can pay for." Ease rose. "You cannot pay for this hospital." Zara turned. "What?" "The deposit alone is more than the available balance in your business account." The words came out before Ease could stop them. Zara's face changed. How do you know anything about my business account? Ease looked at Ruth. Ruth looked down. Dare understood immediately. The sisters were hiding figures from each other too. Zara turned on Ruth. What did you tell her? Nothing. Then how does she know? Ease said, Mama mentioned your creditors 2 weeks ago. She was worried. That is why I asked you what was happening. Zara's anger found a new direction. So Mama is discussing me with you. She was trying to protect you. I do not need protection from a woman sewing clothes in a hot room. Dare stepped between them. Enough. Something in his voice stopped all 3 sisters. Not volume. Authority. He turned to Zara and Ruth. You have until 10 tomorrow morning to contact Kola. Suspend the transaction and return every document belonging to Grace. At 10:01, Yusuf files. Who is Yusuf? Zara asked. The man who will explain the words you refuse to understand from me. Dare walked away to make a call. Ruth followed Zara into the stairwell. The moment the door closed, Ruth whispered, We should stop. Zara stared at her. Stop and do what? Produce 17.5 million by magic? Kola has not released the balance. He has already sent 8 million to my company. I used 6 to settle the venue supplier. Ruth went still. You said the deposit was untouched. I said what you needed to hear. My commission was 3.5 million. I used 2.1. Now it was Zara's turn to stare. You spent it? I had obligations, you dishonest fool. You forged Mama's acknowledgement. We both did this. Ruth pressed a hand to her mouth. We cannot refund the money. Zara's eyes hardened. Then we complete the sale. What about Dare? He is bluffing. He knew the deposit amount. He knew the survey number was wrong. He has a legal advisor. The hospital staff treated him like somebody. Zara leaned closer. Do not allow one old pickup and one calm voice to confuse you. Men like that learn big grammar because they cannot afford big lives. Ruth did not look convinced. Zara took out her phone and called Kola. He answered on the 3rd ring. We sign tomorrow morning, she said. Bring your team. Kola's voice was cautious. What do you know about Daro Koro? Nothing important. Search his name. I did. There are many Dare Okaros. This one mentioned Orison. Zara rolled her eyes. He claimed he owns the company financing you. Kola said nothing. Then did he use the word owns? Yes. It was embarrassing. Kola walked to the window of his office. Far below, cars moved through Ibadan like slow insects. His development firm had 3 major facilities awaiting renewal. 2 depended on an Orison-backed investment vehicle. If Dare was who he implied, the danger was not social embarrassment. It was extinction. But Kola also knew that the chairman of Orison was almost never photographed. Rumors described him as older, sometimes foreign-educated, sometimes based in London. Nobody expected a dusty man with a damaged tool bag. Kola made his decision. We move at 9, he said. Bring Grace home. Get the family acknowledgement signed. Once my survey team marks the property and we serve possession notice, delay becomes expensive for everybody. You are not afraid of him? Zara asked. I am afraid of facts. So far, he has presented none. In the hospital corridor, Dare received an encrypted message from Yusuf, camera footage secured. Attached was a still image. Ruth was bent beside the tool bag. The ruby bracelet was visible between 2 fingers. Dare showed ease. Her face did not change at first. Then her shoulders dropped. A planted bracelet was no longer suspicion. It was her sister's hand. Do not send it to them, she said. I was not planning to. Why? Because evidence is not for winning arguments. It is for establishing truth where denial cannot survive. Ease looked through the glass toward Grace's room. What kind of person does this to her own family? A frightened person can become dangerous when fear joins pride. That sounds too kind. It is an explanation, not an excuse. At 7:18 p.m., Yusuf sent the preliminary land registry result. The survey reference belonged to a parcel in Akobo owned by a retired teacher. The notary stamp on Grace's sale agreement had been reported missing 6 months earlier. A transfer instruction had been uploaded to the digital land portal at 4:52 p.m. that day. The transaction was moving. Dare called Yusuf. File tonight. I have Grace's recorded statement from the hospital, Easy's written account, the camera footage, and the registry mismatch. I can request emergency restraint first thing in the morning. What about the money trail? 17.5 million entered a client account controlled by Daniel's Urban Projects. 8 million moved to Zara's event company. 3.5 moved to Ruth. The rest remains with Cola's firm. Can we freeze the next transfer? Not without the order. Dare looked at his wife. Do it. Yusuf lowered his voice. There is something else. Cola has scheduled a possession ceremony at 9:30 tomorrow. Survey team, private security, local media, and prospective buyers. He wants a crowd. He wants the appearance of completion. Dare's jaw tightened. Then the truth will have a crowd too. Ease heard him. What are you planning? Compliance officers, lawyers, security to preserve evidence. Nothing unlawful. How many people? Enough. Ease took his hand. Save Mama's home. Clear your name. I will, but do not become cruel simply because they were cruel first. Dare looked at her for a long moment. She had been insulted in her mother's home. Her marriage had been mocked. Her husband had been framed. Her mother was lying behind glass because 2 daughters had placed debt above truth. Yet Ease was still drawing a line between justice and humiliation. Dare lifted her hand to his lips. That, he said quietly, is why I married you. Ease's eyes narrowed. Do not use romance to escape our conversation about Orison. I would not dare. You already dared to hide a controlling interest. After Mama is safe. After Mama is safe, she agreed. At 9:54 p.m., Grace woke fully. The doctor said she could be discharged the next morning if her blood pressure remained controlled, but she needed rest and no stress. At 10:11 p.m., Zara sent Ease a message. Come and collect whatever rubbish you left in this house. By noon, Mama's old building will no longer concern you. Ease showed Dare. He read it once. Then he called Yusuf. Bring the compliance team, he said. Bring the injunction, and bring every person who needs to hear the truth. Before sleeping, Grace asked Ease for the grey document safe. Ease placed it beside the hospital bed. Grace touched the lid. Your husband gave me this to protect papers, she said. Yes, and my own daughters took the papers away. Ease sat beside her. Mama, trust is good. But documents do not become enemies because you read them. Grace nodded slowly. I carried peace on my head until peace became a load. Ease understood. Her mother had spent years avoiding disagreement. She had allowed Zara's arrogance because confronting it felt like breaking the family. She had excused Ruth's dishonesty because the girl always cried when questioned. Now the price of false peace was attached to the wall in red paint. Grace closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she whispered, I will speak. Outside the hospital, the night was quiet. But in Lagos and Ibadan, printers were running. Affidavits were being signed. Camera files were being copied. Land records were being certified. Bank transfers were being traced. And 9 vehicles were being prepared before dawn. Not for a display of wealth, for a reckoning built from paper, timestamps, and truth. At 6:30 the next morning, Zara was already at the house. She had not slept. Makeup covered the shadows beneath her eyes, and the ruby-red suit she wore was sharper than anything from the previous day. She had dressed for victory because she no longer knew how to enter a room without creating the appearance of one. Ruth arrived in electric purple, but her hands would not stop trembling. "Where is Mama?" she asked. "Ease is bringing her from the hospital. We should not bring her here. We need her signature." She already gave a statement. Zara turned. "To whom? I do not know." Dare was writing things down. Zara moved closer. "Listen to me. At 9:30, Cola will arrive. Mama will sign the acknowledgement. We will receive the balance. Then we return what is owed and everybody calms down. What if Dare was telling the truth? About owning Orison?" Zara laughed, but the sound was dry. "Please." Ruth showed her phone. "I searched all night. Orison's founder is named Dare Okoro. There are many people with that name. The age matches. There is no clear photograph. That is what frightens me." Zara snatched the phone, looked at an article and threw it onto a chair. "Fear is for people who have options. We do not." At 8:07 a.m., Cola arrived with 2 surveyors, 4 private guards, a small media crew, and a truck carrying red stakes and temporary fencing. A glossy board showed the proposed development. 6 white luxury units, glass balconies, and a swimming pool covering the place where Grace had once planted vegetables. Several neighbors came outside. Cola greeted them with a smile. "Development is coming to this street," he announced. "Property values will rise." One neighbor pointed at Grace's old mango tree. "Are you cutting that too?" Progress requires sacrifice. By 8:42, red paint appeared on the front wall. By 8:56, one surveyor had driven a wooden stake beside the veranda. By 9:03, Zara sent Ease another message. "We are waiting. Do not bring drama." Ease read it from the back seat of Dare's pickup. Grace sat beside her, wearing a cream dress and yellow head tie. The hospital had advised rest, but Grace had refused to hide in Easy's flat while people took possession of her home. Dare drove. He had changed into a cobalt blue suit, crisp white shirt and black shoes. No tie. His old work clothes lay folded behind the seat. Ease had never seen him dressed like that. The suit did not make him look like another person. It made visible the discipline she had always sensed in him. "You could have worn this yesterday," she said. "I could have. And they might have treated you differently. That would have hidden the problem." Grace looked at him through the mirror. "My son, are you truly the owner of that large company?" "I control it, Ma." Grace blinked. "And you allowed my daughters to call you a beggar." "They were not judging my bank account. They were judging what they believed was beneath them." Grace looked out the window. "I failed to correct that spirit early. You did not create every choice they made. But I excused too many." Ease squeezed her mother's hand. Dare's phone rang through the vehicle speakers. Yusuf's voice filled the cab. "The interim restraint has been signed. We have certified copies. The land registry placed an alert on the parcel at 8:51. No transfer can be perfected today." "What about enforcement?" Dare asked. "A court bailiff is traveling with us. 2 compliance officers have the bank trail. Security is unarmed apart from licensed protective detail. Their instruction is crowd control and evidence preservation only." "Good. We are 3 minutes behind you." Dare slowed. "No. Enter together." He pulled into a filling station 2 streets away. At 9:21, the first black SUV arrived behind them. Then the second, then 6 more. The final vehicle carried Yusuf and the legal team. Grace stared through the window. "All these people work for you?" "Today, they are working for the process." At the house, Cola checked his watch. "Where are they?" Zara's confidence was thinning. "They are coming." Ruth stood near the front door with the title folder pressed against her chest. One of the private guards approached. "Madam, should we begin clearing the veranda?" Cola answered. "Remove movable items only. Do not damage the structure yet." The guard lifted Grace's old wooden bench. A churchwoman protested. That bench belongs to her late husband. Kola smiled. It will be stored. Then Grace's voice came from the gate. Put it down. Every head turned. Grace entered between Ease and Dare. Easy's burnt orange dress caught the morning light. Dare's cobalt suit cut a hard line beside her. Grace walked slowly, but she did not lean on either of them. Zara looked first at the suit, then at Dare's face. Her mouth opened slightly. Ruth stepped backward. Kola did not move. Dare approached the front wall and touched the fresh red paint with one finger. Who authorized this? Kola recovered his voice. I did. We have possession documents. Grace raised her chin. You do not have my permission. Zara rushed forward. Mama, do not start shouting. The doctor said no stress. Grace turned on her. You used my sickness as a reason to silence me yesterday. You will not use it again, the neighbors murmured. Zara's eyes moved toward the media camera. Ease has confused you. No pain has cleared my eyes. Kola stepped between them. This family dispute should not delay a lawful transaction. Dare looked at the workers holding red stakes. Tell your people to stop. Kola's pride returned. A man who arrived yesterday without a car should not advise me about property. Dare glanced at the pickup outside. That vehicle is mine. The crowd laughed. Zara seized the moment. You see? He changed clothes and now he wants to act like a chairman. Ease, you should have rented him a better car with the suit, Ruth whispered. Zara, stop. Zara ignored her. She pointed at Dare. This man stole from me yesterday. Today he has returned to steal our mother's opportunity. A clean shirt cannot wash poverty from somebody's destiny. Ease stepped forward. A dirty heart does not become clean because the suit is expensive. The crowd reacted. Zara's face burned. Kola lifted the acknowledgement form. Mama Grace, sign this and let us end the noise. Grace did not take the pen. What does it say? It confirms the family supports the sale. Then it is a lie. Kola's smile vanished. Madam, we have paid money. To whom? Nobody answered. Grace looked at Zara. To whom? Zara lifted her chin. The money was for the family. It did not enter my account. We were managing it for you. You were spending it for yourselves. Ruth began to cry. Grace turned to her. Do not use tears as a curtain. Bring my documents. Ruth held the folder tighter. Kola signaled his private guards. Clear the entrance. We will handle this through counsel. 2 guards moved toward Ease and Grace. Dare stepped in front of them. Do not touch either woman. One guard looked at Kola. Kola said, remove them from the work area. Dare looked directly at him. Are you certain you want to complete this transaction? Kola gave a cold smile. I am certain I do not take instructions from a man performing wealth in a borrowed suit. Then engines thundered outside. The first black SUV appeared at the end of the street. A second followed. Then a third. Neighbors moved away from the road as 6 black SUVs. 2 executive sedans and 1 legal support vehicle entered slowly, sealing both ends without blocking emergency access. The vehicles stopped in a wide arc around the house. Doors opened almost together. Professional security officers stepped out first. They did not shout. They did not push anybody. They took positions at the gate and beside the truck carrying demolition tools. Then compliance officers emerged with document cases. A court bailiff stepped from the second sedan. Finally, Yusuf Bello came out holding a certified order beneath one arm. The street became silent. Zara's smile broke. Kola's face lost its color. Yusuf walked through the gate, stopped before Dare, and spoke clearly enough for every phone to record. Chairman Okoro, the interim restraining order has been granted. The land registry alert is active. The board is waiting for your instruction regarding Daniel's urban projects. A glass slipped from somebody's hand beneath the canopy. It struck the ground and rolled without breaking. Chairman Okoro, The words traveled through the crowd like electricity. Zara looked from Yusuf to Dare. No. Ruth covered her mouth. Kola took one step backward. Dare did not look at any of them. "Serve the order," he said. The bailiff approached Kola. "Mr. Kola Daniels?" Kola did not answer. The bailiff repeated the question. "Yes," Kola said at last. "You are hereby served with an interim order restraining you, your company, agents or contractors from entering, altering, transferring, encumbering or demolishing the property pending determination of the complaint." He placed the documents in Kola's hand. One of Kola's surveyors dropped his measuring pole. Zara rushed toward Dare. "You are the chairman of Orison?" Dare faced her. "Yes, you let us believe you were poor. I told you I was an engineer. You decided the rest from my shoes." But Ease did not tell us. Ease spoke from beside Grace. "I did not know the full truth either." Zara turned to her. "Then he deceived you." Dare's jaw tightened, but Ease answered first. "That matter belongs inside my marriage. It does not erase what you did." Yusuf signaled the compliance team. A portable screen was placed on a stand beneath the canopy. One officer connected a tablet. Dare looked at the guests. "Yesterday, many of you raised phones before asking one question. Today, you may keep recording, but record the evidence too." The first image appeared. The land registry map showed Grace's parcel beside the survey reference used in Kola's documents. They did not match. Yusuf explained the coordinates, registration numbers, and date stamps in plain language. The second document showed the notary seal. "This stamp was reported missing 6 months ago," Yusuf said. "Its use after that date requires investigation." The third display showed the bank transfers. 17,500,000 naira entered a Daniels-controlled account. 8 million went to Zara's event company. 3,500,000 went to Ruth. Grace closed her eyes. The shame on her face cut Ease deeply. Zara shouted, "That money was an advance." "Advance to the seller?" Yusuf asked. "Yes. Then why did none of it enter the seller's account?" Zara had no answer. Ruth sank onto a chair. The fourth item was the video. The courtyard footage played from the previous day. Ruth appeared beside Dare's bag. The camera zoomed. The ruby bracelet shone between her fingers before disappearing beneath the helmet. A sound rose from the crowd. Not laughter this time. Disgust. Ruth began to sob. Zara pointed at the screen. "That angle proves nothing." Yusuf played the second camera. It showed Ruth entering the house with the bracelet in her handbag and returning without it. Then a third clip showed Zara whispering to Ruth moments before. Zara's mouth opened. No sound came. Dare walked to the chair where his canvas bag rested. The event manager had returned it after securing the footage. Dare lifted it and placed it on the same table where Kola's documents lay. "Yesterday," he said, "this bag was used as evidence that I had no value. The bracelet inside it was treated as proof, because people had already decided what a man in dusty clothes was capable of." He looked at the guests who had laughed. Poverty is not probable cause. Work clothes are not a confession. A crowd repeating an accusation does not turn it into truth. Then Ease stepped beside him. She placed one hand on the canvas bag. "Yesterday, you believed this bag proved he was worthless. Today, a convoy has arrived, and suddenly you can see his humanity." Her voice trembled once, then steadied. "The convoy did not make him a better man. It only exposed how poorly you judged him." Nobody moved. Zara's ruby suit seemed too bright now, too loud. Ruth's purple dress looked like a costume abandoned after a failed performance. Kola turned to Dare. "Chairman, we can settle this privately." Dare studied him. "You plan to demolish a woman's home publicly. It was a commercial misunderstanding. You used a false survey reference. My staff prepared the documents. You received money on a transaction the owner denies authorizing. I relied on the family. You sent a message saying demolition should begin before objections could be reversed. Kola's eyes widened. Yusuf displayed the message: get every family member out of the way before Monday. Once demolition starts, nobody can reverse it easily. Kola looked at Ruth. Ruth looked at the ground. Dare continued. Orison is suspending all facilities linked to Daniel's urban projects, pending independent review. That is not a conviction. It is risk control. Your contracts will be examined. Every affected landowner will be invited to submit records. Kola's legs weakened. Chairman, hundreds of jobs. Then you should have considered them before using fraud as a business model. Zara rushed forward and fell to her knees. Dare, please. We are family. The same guests who had recorded his humiliation now recorded hers. Dare stepped back. Stand up. She clutched the edge of his suit. I did not know who you were. Dare removed her hand gently. That is the problem. You believe people deserve respect only after you know who they are. Zara's face crumpled. I was under pressure. Pressure explains why a person is tested. It does not choose the answer for them. Grace came forward. Her steps were slow, but her voice was firm. Give me my documents. Ruth carried the blue folder to her. Grace did not take it. Give it to the lawyer. Ruth handed it to Yusuf. Grace looked at both daughters. You will leave my house today. Mama, Ruth cried. You will leave until you can speak truth without hiding behind tears, debt, or family name. Zara stood. Where will I go? Grace's eyes filled, but she did not soften. You did not ask where I would go after you sold my home. That sentence ended the argument. Kola's team removed the red stakes. The private guards lowered their heads and moved away from the entrance. One worker brought Grace's wooden bench back and placed it exactly where it had stood. The red paint remained on the wall. Dare ordered nobody to scrub it immediately. Some marks needed to remain long enough for people to understand what had almost happened. Zara and Ruth walked through the gate with small bags. The convoy surrounded the house, black and shining beneath the sun. Yet not one officer opened a door for them. Not one neighbor praised their clothes. Not one guest asked about the price of Zara's suit. The symbols that had once controlled every room had become useless. Behind them, Grace sat on the old bench her husband had built. Ease sat on one side. Dare sat on the other. And for the first time in many years, the house belonged fully to its owner again. The legal consequences did not arrive like thunder. They arrived as letters, interviews, account reviews, and dates stamped on official paper. The attempted transfer of Grace's property was cancelled after the land registry confirmed the survey mismatch and the absence of informed consent. The disputed deposit became part of a civil recovery process. The forged documents were referred to the appropriate authorities, and Kola's company entered a wider investigation involving other elderly landowners. No judge sent anybody to prison that afternoon. No police van appeared simply because a billionaire was angry. Dare refused to turn influence into punishment. He insisted on procedure. Daniel's urban projects lost access to 2 pending credit facilities while its records were reviewed. Several families who had once believed they were too poor to challenge the company came forward with receipts, voice notes, and copies of suspicious agreements. Kola was suspended by his own board. For the first time, the man who had told others that progress required sacrifice was forced to explain why the sacrifices always belonged to weaker people. Zara's event business suffered too. The 8 million naira traced to her account had already been spent on suppliers and old debts. She sold financed equipment, cancelled the lease on her showroom, and returned a luxury vehicle that had never truly belonged to her. Her clients did not leave because she had become poor. They left because they discovered she had used one client's deposit to complete another client's event. Ruth's brokerage firm suspended her license pending disciplinary review. She was required to disclose the private commission and cooperate with the investigation into the false documents. Grace did not celebrate their fall. She cried. That was the part the guests with phones did not record. A mother could demand accountability and still mourn what her children had become. 3 weeks after the convoy came, Grace called a family meeting at the house. Zara and Ruth arrived without jewelry. Ease came with Dare. Yusuf attended only long enough to explain the settlement terms, then left the family to speak. Grace placed the grey document safe on the dining table. "The title papers will remain here," she said. "There are 3 keys, one with me, one with Ease, one with the lawyer." Zara lowered her eyes. Grace continued. "Both of you will sign statements describing exactly how you obtained my signature. You will repay every naira. You will attend financial counseling. You will apologize to Dare without saying, 'I am sorry, but,' there will be no but." Ruth began first. She faced Dare with swollen eyes. "I put the bracelet in your bag. I knew it was wrong. I did it because I was afraid of losing money I had already spent. I also believed people would accuse you easily because of how you looked. I am sorry." Dare nodded once. "Your apology is heard. Trust will depend on what you do next." Zara remained silent. Grace waited. At last Zara said, "I humiliated you because I thought a man with no visible wealth had no power to answer me. When I discovered who you were, I became afraid. That fear showed me that my apology was still selfish." She looked at Eeks. "I taught myself to measure everybody. Clothes, cars, houses. I even measured my own sister and decided her simple life meant she had failed. I was wrong. Ease did not rush to embrace her. Words are the beginning," she said, "not the repair." Zara nodded. After the meeting, Ease and Dare drove home in silence. The question waiting between them was no longer about Grace's house. It was about their marriage. Ease sat at the small dining table while Dare brought out folders she had never seen before. Company records, trust documents, insurance policies, property schedules, security protocols. The numbers were so large that she stopped reading them as money and began reading them as distance. "Why did you hide this?" she asked. Dare sat opposite her. "My father became wealthy when I was young. After that, people changed around us. Friends brought business proposals. Relatives brought emergencies. Women approached me already in love with a life they had imagined. When I met you, you argued with me because I wanted to replace 6 sewing machines without asking how your training model worked. You were trying to solve everything with money. Yes, you told me help without listening can become another form of control. I remember. I wanted one part of my life where Orison did not enter the room before I did." Ease's voice softened, but not enough to remove the issue. "I understand why you wanted privacy. I do not accept why your wife was excluded from facts that could affect her safety." Dare lowered his head. "You are right. This cannot become a story where a rich man hides his life and calls it a test of love. It was never a test. But it still placed me inside an arrangement I did not understand. I know. They spoke until after midnight. There was no dramatic forgiveness, no single kiss that repaired everything. They agreed on financial transparency, emergency contacts, security boundaries, and decisions that required both signatures. Dare gave Ease access without asking her to surrender independence. Ease kept control of her workshop accounts and refused to turn the training center into a charity dependent on her husband's mood. Their marriage became less mysterious It also became stronger. 6 months later, Grace's house still stood. The damaged roof had been repaired by a licensed contractor selected through 3 written estimates. The original walls remained. The mango tree remained. The old wooden bench remained. The red demolition mark on the front wall was covered, but Ease preserved one small square of it behind a framed glass panel near the entrance. Beneath it were the words, "Read before you sign." The back portion of the compound became the Grace Skills and Property Literacy Center. 19 sewing machines became 31. A small legal desk opened twice a week. Elderly homeowners learned how to verify survey numbers, store copies, reject blank pages, and insist that contracts be explained in words they understood. The center did not promise that kindness would make people rich. It taught something more useful. Kindness should never require ignorance. Trust should not cancel documentation. Family should not be used as a weapon against consent. Ruth returned first. She arrived with a repayment schedule, bank receipts, and a box of copied property guides. She volunteered at the legal desk, not as an advisor, but as the person who organized files and showed visitors where to sign only after they had read every line. Zara took longer. One rainy afternoon, she entered the center wearing a plain green blouse and flat shoes. No ruby, no gold earrings, no perfume that announced her before her mouth opened. Ease was cutting fabric at the main table. Zara stood there for several seconds. "I came to help," she said. "With what? Anything you will allow." Ease handed her a stack of intake forms. "Arrange these by date. Check that every person received a copy." Zara took them. "Is that all?" "For today." She nodded and sat down. Grace watched from the veranda. She did not smile immediately, but she did not turn away. Trust returned slowly, the way a damaged wall is rebuilt. One measured line at a time. Dare continued to own Orison. The convoy still existed, the board still called, his name still moved money, contracts, and rooms full of important people. But on most evenings, he drove the old white pickup to collect Ease after class. One Friday she stepped outside and saw him leaning against it in dusty boots. "You are the richest man I know," she said, "yet your shoes are still carrying half of Ibadan." Dare looked down at the red soil. Dust can be washed away. Ease opened the passenger door. "And pride," he smiled. "Pride is harder." They drove away without security cars, sirens, or black SUVs. The convoy had exposed the truth that day, but it had never created Dare's value. His value had been present when he saved a worker, when he protected evidence instead of fighting, when he paid a hospital bill quietly, and when he accepted correction from his wife. From my own perspective, the poorest person in that compound was never the man wearing dusty shoes. True poverty began when people lost the ability to recognize another human being without first checking his bank account. And whenever property, inheritance, or family money is involved, affection should never replace proper documentation. Trust your family, but still read before you sign. Respect people before their convoy arrives. By the time power reveals who they are, it may already have revealed who you are.